Aloha nui kako. My name is Alyssa Leinani Lozi, and welcome to another edition of MKO at Home. Today I'm going to show you how to make an Epaki Mahina garland or moon phase garland. So to start, I'm going to talk a little bit about the moon phases, and then we'll get right into our activity. So let's just share my screen. Now, I'm an outreach assistant at the International Gemini Observatory, a program of NSF's NOIRLab located in Hilo, Hawaii. This picture here is a picture of the Gemini North Telescope, which is near the summit of Maunakea on Hawaii Island. The International Gemini Observatory consists of two telescopes, one in Hawaii and the other in Chile. Now, here are some photos that the Gemini Observatory has taken in the past year. And in particular, I want to talk about the one in the far right, which is a photo of Mini Moon, or 2020 CV3, which was an asteroid caught in the orbit of our planet for a few months. So it essentially acted as a tiny moon for a little while. If you want to learn more about that mini moon, then you can go and watch one of the older MKO at Home videos on our YouTube channel. Okay, so here's a picture of what our moon phase garland is going to look like by the time we're done. And before we get there, let's talk a little bit about which phases we're going to be doing. So the center blue picture here is the more commonly known phases that we learn in school. And so there's new moon, crescent moons, quarter moons, gibbous, and full moon. On the right-hand side, we have the Hawaiian moon calendar, which has all 30 phases. And so within this moon calendar, you can split all 30 phases into three major categories, or onahulu, and those categories are called ho'onui, which means the moon is growing in brightness, poipoi, which means the moon is very round and bright, and ho'emi, which means the moon is lessening in its brightness. These terms are very similar to waning, which means the moon is becoming more bright, and waxing, the moon is becoming less bright. And so if you see our example moon phase garland in the far left, we are going to be making 9 different phases. So it'll have all 8 phases from the central picture, plus the Hilo moon phase, which is the very first moon phase in the Hawaiian moon calendar. This is also just my favorite moon phase and the town in which I live and love, so it's pretty special to me. If you want to learn more about the moon and its fun characteristics and a chant for the Hawaiian moon calendar, then you can watch this older MKO at Home video as well. Okay, here are the materials that you're going to need to complete this activity. At any point in this video, feel free to pause and continue on through the steps. So it's very important here that you have 2 different colors of paper and that your base paper be very thick. So you need a good thick paper for the bottom of your moon phases. Once you have all your materials together, you're going to follow these next steps. Trace 9 circles on your thick construction paper, which will then be your base, and then you'll trace 8 circles on your thinner top paper. You'll only need 8 circles because this top paper will go over your base, and so depending on if your base is bright or dark, your new moon or your full moon phase won't have that top circle covering it. Make sure to label your papers, which is your base paper and which is your top paper. And then also make sure to label which is your bright side of the moon and which is your dark side of the moon. Here you'll see that for my moon phase garland, my base is the bright side of the moon and my top is the dark side of the moon. This will make more sense as we draw our phases together. So then you'll take your top paper and draw and label all of your moon phases. Color in the side that you don't need. Here's what I mean. So for our first moon phase, we are drawing Hilo. And because, as I told you, my top paper is the dark side of the moon, I'm coloring in the bright side of my moon phase so that later when I cut out this paper, I am cutting out the uncolored part to tape onto my base. In the following slides, we'll have all of the other moon phases for you to draw, so please just feel free to pause and draw each one. Waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon or hoku in Hawaiian, waning gibbous, third quarter, waning crescent, new moon or muku in Hawaiian. Okay, now that you finished your moon phases on your top paper, for your base paper, you're going to write a whole bunch of really great information, including the name of your moon phase, which of the 3 major Hawaiian categories it falls into, or Honolulu, and the time that this phase is visible. So here we have Hilo, which is ho'onui, or growing in its brightness, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous. And you might notice now that our Honolulu has changed to poi poi, which, as we said before, means that the moon is very bright and round in its phase. Full moon, or hoku, waning gibbous, third quarter. Now we've transitioned to the Honolulu of ho'emi because the moon's brightness is lessening. Waning crescent, and new moon, muku. Now that you have all of your top paper phases done and your base paper phases done, you're going to cut them out one phase at a time. Here we're starting with Hilo. Once you have your 2 papers, you're going to cut out the uncolored portion of your top paper and tape that onto your base paper. Make sure that the orientation of your phases stay accurate. Repeat the previous 2 steps until all of your moon phases are complete and try to keep them in order. Then you can arrange your phases however you'd like. I'd prefer to keep them in order and space them out equally, and then measure out your string so that you can then tape your string to the back of your moon phases. Once you've done that, you're all POW and you can hang it up. I hope that you enjoyed this activity, and please feel free to send us your pictures, tag us in social media, and join us again for next week, another edition of MKO at Home. Mahalo and a hui ho.